I'm the music god CJ Plain. This is the Noize Report. You know what we do here. Every week or so, we get together with awesome people. We laugh, we have fun, we talk about anything and everything. A lot of times it's music, but sometimes you got to go outside of the box a little bit. And not that this one won't have music stuff in it because we are going to discuss some of that. Um, but this person here, I found on TikTok. I was going through my divorce, brutal custody battle, and was just scrolling through videos, and I seen his video, and I was so blown away by the love and the kindness and the words that you said. And every video since then, man, is just no matter how bad of a day I'm having or how down I might be, or even if I'm happy, seeing your videos is such a breath of fresh air from the decisiveness and the nastiness and all of the garbage that so many people put out into the world. Um, this is Nathan, Shining Nathan. You may know him on TikTok as your gay auntie, and I am absolutely honored to have him on this show. How are you?
I'm fantastic, CJ, and I'm so glad to be here. It really is an honor to see you and be on the channel. I'm a little tired. I worked out today, which was not the best of ideas, but you know, I'm trying something different, and here I go.
I need to try that more because I have. Ugh. Old age is not for the weak.
No, it really isn't. And unfortunately, we all go through it. And I am salty about it. The most I'm
Yeah,
salty about is the fact that I'm losing my hair. And that is the biggest bitch of it.
that is not something I have to do with. Um, believe it or not, um, April of last year, when we kind of started the divorce thing, my head was completely shaved. So this is about a year's worth. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's so
Um,
healthy.
yeah. It's shaved on the sides and the back, and I want my Viking braids back in it. I had long hair for many years, and then you have kids, and you kind of have to work and have a job. And I was a truck driver, um, and then that tried to kill me. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, no.
I had a half-inch chain snap, and you can see it left me a beautiful little souvenir right here in the middle
Oh,
of my
no.
forehead. Um, tried to take my skull off, but apparently I have a thick skull. So, but yeah. So, talk about you a little bit. Just kind of do, I guess, a brief introduction of you and your channel and who you are, where you're from, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I guess I'm Shining Nathan. I'm based out of Texas, specifically San Antonio, Texas. Allegedly the greatest state in the union, and I say allegedly except for our power grid, our weather, and mostly our politics. But the state is beautiful in of itself. You want a
Yeah,
different topography, every corner of it has a different topography. But I guess my channel is just a little bit of everything of me, my nerdy side, my feel good side, and I started it mid pandemic because a lot of us was locked inside, and I've always held by the belief of if I can make one person smile or laugh a day, then my job in this world is complete. And
yes,
TikTok gave me that outlet, and then I did not start picking up until mid last year, and then all of a sudden I'm at 910,000 followers.
wow,
And it really has been, it's a little bit of fashion, a little bit, I want to say style, a little bit of style, and a lot of uplifting things for people to be what it is they want to be. Because we've all started kind of breaking away that old facade that our grandparents and great grandparents had instilled in us, to see that maybe we'll just be who we want to be, whether it is a 60-year-old man who wears a skirt to work, or a 30-year-old woman who just wants to wear a snugget to go to the grocery store. I mean, it's all, everything, all the rules are make believe. It's just
Mhm.
whether we want to agree to them. This being an adult is just adult make believe. That we sort of kind of agree to the rules too. And
Yeah.
so I've been trying to create that on my page and then do a little bit of education on certain political topics in a kind way, because as we know,
Mhm.
I'm a liberal myself, but I'm a firm believer that a lot of, especially moderate conservatives, um are just too sick, tired, overworked, underpaid to actually just hear, research the topic. So I try to come from it from a not frustrated viewpoint like several of my liberal peers are, because I get they're frustrated. But
Mhm.
most policies positively impact all of us.
Yeah.
It's just chipping away at the BS and just coming at it with a little bit of love and saying, look, babe, fuck what you've been told. Here's the truth, my love, and it
Yeah.
benefits you. But
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Politically, it's one of them funny things. I think a lot of people take my content that I do sometimes and might think I'm conservative, and I am in some ways, but I'm very liberal in other ways. And I tell people my political view is very easy to understand. And they think I'm joking when I say it, but I'm really not. My political view is very, very simple. I don't care what you do or who you do it with. Just don't do it on my porch and don't spend my money to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. Like, I don't care who you love. I don't care what you do in your bedroom or your life or your yard. Just stay out of my yard and stop. Please stop taking all of my money for
Mhm.
these ridiculous reasons. Like, I understand taxes and that's fine. I have no issue with taxes, but like where I live, they have put in 9 roundabouts. I live in a town of 30,000 people.
Oh, that's not a very big town.
No,
Well,
it-
for 9.
I literally live in the home of the Republican Party. The Republican Party was literally created and born in the town I live in, Jackson, Michigan. It's a town of 30,000 people. We have 9 roundabouts. Meanwhile, I have a pothole in front of my house that's large enough I could list it on Zillow as a 3-bedroom condo.
Oh my god.
And I make a joke about it to the mayor, and the mayor is like, well, you just don't understand. I understand the suspension of my car is destroyed because you won't fix the pothole in front of my house because you say there's no money, but you've spent $12 million on roundabouts that this city simply doesn't need.
Yeah. And
Like, it's,
I fully believe in that too. And
you
I,
know,
I guess like in San Antonio, I'm in a major city.
right.
And so most things it's hard to keep up. So I understand certain things keep up with a city this ponderously big, because we
Right.
build cities ponderously big
Yeah.
here in terms of width.
Mhm.
Um, and like here, there's people that get mad whenever like the city puts up new art. They contract to artists. And I used to get in such Facebook arguments. I'm like, everything in the city is pretty dang good. Like we have it pretty cushy. Like we're not Austin. We have barely any traffic because our highways are huge, well
Right.
maintained. So we have, and people like to live where it's pretty, Damien.
Yeah.
And so some people are like, well, we don't need that art. I'm like, but you like the city to look nice, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then you complain why people don't make pretty things. You got to pay people anyway. So it's like if your
No, it's,
basic needs aren't met, like say
yeah.
your infrastructure where you have
Right.
potholes, why are you putting under? Like I understand. I'll be honest. I understand the benefit of roundabouts.
Yeah.
However,
Our mayor has the craziest thing to me about these dumb things. Like over by Ella Sharp Park, which is in a very rich part of town. There's literally 2 of them back to back almost. Like there's one, then you go 50 yards up the road, and there's a second one. And I'm like, why would you build 2 of them on top of each other? It makes no sense. Like, first off, there's no houses there. It's a stretch along the entrance to one of our city parks. So it's not like there's traffic coming from one side. It's all woods on one side and it's the open park on the other side. So the only traffic is coming from the park. So the one roundabout is more than sufficient. Would you put another one 50 yards up the road and it's in front of a party store?
that is
Why would you why would you put one where there's incoming traffic from a party store?
And that's it.
Like it's so dangerous coming out of Kimmy Cobb party store because you're immediately from the parking lot into this roundabout.
Yeah.
And then we have accidents.
To leave congestion at an intersection, not just.
Yeah. So, he does the dumbest things, but it's just, but the upside of it is, and I'm very thankful for, we have an event here called Bright Walls. And Bright Walls is where they bring all these artists into the city and they paint these huge, beautiful murals all over. So downtown, we have some gorgeous, beautiful murals on these older buildings. So I am thankful for that. It's one of the great ideas that our mayor has had. One of the very few. He's so... Derek and I have gone back and forth, and Derek hates me. Like Derek sees me coming, and he just turns around and goes the other way now. Like he won't even engage with me because I have too much common sense, I think, for him. And I always joke he doesn't understand economics because he's young and he never, he's an 18-year-old kid. His dad owned the largest insurance.
18-year-old kid's your mayor?
Well, he was 18 when he graduated, went immediately on to city council, sat on his council seat for 6 years till he was 24, and then became mayor.
Oh.
So he's a 24-year-old white rich kid with no job experience whatsoever. And he'll say, I'm not a silver spoon baby. Bro, you live in a $200,000 house. Well, I work as the mayor. You make $11,000 a year as the mayor.
As the mayor.
Now, you say your dad had no influence over anything you do, but he had to have signed for that house loan.
Yeah.
No bank in the world is going to give you a $200,000 home loan when you make $11,000 a year. Okay, this is simple third grade economics. You can't afford a $200,000 a year, or $200,000 house making $11,000 a year. That's not even minimum wage.
No, not at all. That I have questions.
Yeah, so he gets mad at me when I call him a silver spoon baby, but it's like, come on, bro, like you're talking this, but you're living this, and he's so hell bent on pushing through his stuff when I got really mad at him. He pushed a thing here called the NDA, which was the non-discrimination, or the NDO, the non-discrimination ordinance. Mm-hmm. And I admire him for what he was doing. This was a non-discrimination ordinance to where no one could discriminate against transgender, gay people, or any of that. The problem is we never had that problem here. Yeah. Our largest business owner, his name is Valentine. Him and his husband have owned the 3 largest businesses downtown for 30 years. Uh-huh. There's 3 gay clubs in this town. We have a pride parade every year. No one discriminates in this town. And Derek's like, there's discrimination. And I'm like, dude, there's not. Okay, if there was discrimination, Valentine would not be downtown with the Tellos and the coffee house and the Michigan Theater and the printing company that he has. Okay, yeah. I guarantee you.
Well, maybe he was trying to, what's the word I wanted to use? I had a better word. In light of everything that's going on, maybe he was just trying to get ahead of any. Like, who knows?
I don't know. Like,
he's young. I mean, I see the benefit of having it on the books just in case anybody tries to be an asshat. Yeah, because you know how people can be.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of told Derek, I said, this is really a problem, or this is really a solution in search of a problem. Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by that? I was like, dude, this is not a problem that exists in Jackson. Like, this is one of the good things I can say about this town. It is small. It is country. It's the home of the Republican Party. But there's very little discrimination here.
Mhm.
Like, everyone lives everywhere. We get along. There's, you know, I, I've never ever dealt with it in this town,
Yeah.
and I've dealt with it everywhere else. And it's one of the things I like about this town is you don't have that problem. You see mixed couples, you see gay couples, you see transgender people, you see just every form of life. And it's awesome because people kind of get along here. And it's just like, then he stirred up so much problem with this thing because a lot of people agreed that it wasn't necessary. You were trying to politicize an issue that kind of didn't exist.
Mhm.
So, anyways, we're gonna move on. You do story time on
Mhm.
your channel. Talk about that a little bit because that is
So
one of the things that I love.
I started story time maybe about a year, just over a year ago. And because I love reading, and
Yes.
people would sending messages that they love hearing me talk and things like that. And so I decided to do a story time once, and people loved it. I think I actually read the first chapter of Sherlock Holmes: The Hound of Baskerville
Okay.
on story time, and people enjoyed it. People
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed it. And I started reading the first chapter of other books because I was trying to stick with stories that are within the public domain. So I don't have to worry about copyright or anything. But then I figured, you know what? Let's introduce new books. I won't read them all, but introduce a chapter so people will feel inspired to pick it up and buy it themselves and read
Yeah.
it. And especially a lot with BIPOC authors, LGBT authors, or
Hmm.
books that are just delightfully enlightening. And so, plus, it was a moment for people. How often, as an adult, do we get something read to us? Because I'm a firm believer is like you may grow up, but you never truly grow up. And
Yeah.
it's nice to just sit down and just be able to interact in a kind of calm space after considering the state our country is in, just in
Mhm.
general, everything, not politically, but just in
Right.
general, everything. And just to have an hour, just to sit down and enjoy somebody reading to you live is
Yeah.
just something I figured, let's go on and go ahead. And so I started reading stories, and I've been doing it almost every Wednesday. I did take break when I moved. These past two times I moved. And then while I was on my road trip to California. And it's such a delight. Thankfully, I haven't had that much haters on my page or trolls pop up. I have had
Right.
on occasion, and I was banned once from going live because I told somebody to go to hell. Um, but other than that, I now have a moderator that sits in and checks it. But I really
Awesome.
don't. I'm fairly relatively insulated from the hate that other LGBT creators do by LGBT
Yeah.
and BIPOC creators do get.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, considering how I dress, but I think partially it's because I just don't take shit and I don't interact with them if I see it.
Yeah.
I follow a policy whenever, especially when I do certain political posts or something a little bit more controversial. I follow a policy of let the comment section eat them up and just don't engage. Because most of my followers will just choose. They'll see a comment they don't like, and then they will eviscerate the person. I don't even have to do it half the time. And then there are certain moments where it's teaching moments where I'll take a comment and like, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
But the lives typically, for most of the time, don't get any trolls. I've had a couple people who came in like, "What is this?" Because of course I'll be in a Nightingale or whatever outfit I'm deciding to wear for it, and they'll try to make comment. Now, depending on my mood, I will say, "Well, why don't you sit down and just enjoy being in peace for a second, and enjoy me reading you a book?" If I catch the story, this
Mhm.
catch the comment, I no longer try to look at the comments while I'm reading because then I'll lose my place where I'm at.
Yeah.
But it is just a little hour of people being able to just sit in a comfy spot and enjoy having a story read to them. And I love doing it. I really
Yeah.
do. Mhm.
I love reading. I'm a huge proponent of it. I always have been. I've taught every one of my children uh, to read and to love books, and um, it was something that was passed down to me. My grandfather, bless his heart, he is 95 years old this year, and he still will sit. Instead of watching TV, he will sit and he will sit in his chair and he will read a book over
Oh.
watching TV or whatever. He's a farmer, he's farmed his whole life. So they live way out. He lives way out in the country. My grandma died about a year and a half ago. But he, he's as tough as steel. He has no quit in him. I called him on his birthday, expecting I was going to take him out to breakfast.
Uh-huh.
7:30 in the morning, and my cousin answered the phone, and I said, "Well, where's Grandpa?" Well, he's outside. 7:30 in the morning. What's he doing outside? Well, he's changing the brakes on the Suburban. 95 years old. He's got a full size 1987 Suburban, and he's out there taking tires off, changing the brakes like it's nothing. And I'm just like, that man has no quit in him, and he never has. But he's always taught us to read. The mantra growing up for us was always, they can take everything from you except for your education. That's the one thing that no matter what somebody does to you, if you go to prison, they can take away your freedom and everything else, but they cannot take away your education and your knowledge.
Mhm.
And I've passed that on to my kids, and if I send you out into the world with nothing else other than the ability to learn and teach and know that you never stop learning.
Yeah.
That. So anyways, with that said,
Uh-huh.
I have 2 books I'm going to send you.
Oh.
They are 2 of my very favorite books, and I don't know if you'll be able to read them per copyright or any of that fun stuff, and that's fine if you can't. But these are books that and more than anything, I want you to read because I think you're going to love them.
Oh, I'm excited.
The first one is called The Ballad of Perilous Graves by
I
Alex.
love the title.
It's based in New Orleans, and it's kind of a noir detective with all kinds of crazy. It's got all of the New Orleans craziness in it. Celebrations and drag queens and mystery and murder and all of that. So it's a funny, fabulous book.
I'm excited.
The other one is my absolute favorite book. This is a book that was introduced to me by my friend. As soon as she told me the title, I said, I don't want to read it. It's a religious book. And she's like, it's not a religious book. It's all right. So I finally broke down and was like, I'll read it just to shut you up. I was half a chapter in, and I was in tears, almost crying laughter.
Oh, God.
It is a book by Christopher Moore. It's called Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal.
Oh, my God.
What it is a fictional tale of Jesus's life between his birth in the Bible and the time he comes back for the crucifixion. It's all of the adventures that Jesus was on during those missing years. And he was on adventures with his best friend, Biff. Basically, imagine if Mel Brooks and Douglas Adams got together and wrote a book.
Ooh.
The great thing about this book is, even though it's about Jesus and everything, it's not like sacrilegious. It's done in a very tongue-in-cheek, satirical way. It is fall down funny. Basically, because Jesus is perfect, essentially, and can't sin, he lives vicariously through Biff. Biff does all of the things that Jesus is not allowed to do. So you You have to read it. You will. I promise you will laugh until you cry on the Lamb book. Um, I am so thankful that I read the book because I recommend it to anyone who loves reading now, and I always, without exception, they read the book and they're like, "Oh, it's so great!" And Christopher is a brilliant, brilliant writer. He's written tons of books, but this is by far the hands down funniest book I've ever read in my life. So I'm going to send you those, and again, whether or not you can read them for your story time is totally up to you, depending on
I'm definitely gonna read them. I think I
you know
could read at least a chapter or two, but
right.
I'm definitely gonna read them. I'm already know I'm gonna love them.
Yeah. So and I love that you do it because reading is so essential and it's so great. And I think anyone who not only spends the time doing it, but kind of does it as a teaching tool or as a teaching moment or just to demonstrate how important it is.
Oh yeah, I think so many
So
people just don't get the time anymore
yeah,
because people see it as such a big laborious task in certain instances. And honestly, I get it. I get it.
yeah,
People are working, people are tired, whatever, and they want something just to sit. And people have lost that sit with a book. Um, and so giving them this little moment just to like reinvigorate that joy of reading because you get to create the world. You get to create what it looks like. You get to create exactly how everything is
yeah,
inside your head. And so while yes, do I like sometimes where they adapt certain things and put them to the screen? Yeah. But there are moments where I really don't. And like at World War Z, nor will I talk about that. Anyway, um, that's neither here nor there. Oh yay, let's just use one little of an excerpt from the book and then slap the name of the book onto the movie. Great job. Uh,
I don't get me started on that because one of my absolute favorite book series is the Aragon series.
mhm.
They're going to do an Aragon movie, and I ran to the theater, and I was front row, and I was ready to go, and I watched an absolute horror what they did, and I halfway through the movie, I'm in tears, and I can't watch this anymore. I go out and I demand to see the movie theater owner, and I demand my money back. And I went home. This was 2000 and I think 2003, 2002, whenever it was. And I'm on, the old Yahoo chat, and I'm just on the keyboard, and I'm writing letters to everybody, oh man. And I was so livid what they did with Aragon. And people were like, well, it's, they always do that. And I'm like, no, look, you don't understand. Okay. Like, they spent $300 million on that travesty of a movie. What was the director's first movie? That man was a special effects master from George Lucas's company. He had worked on Star Wars, E.T., Master and Commander. He had worked on Terminator. He had worked on Beetlejuice. Okay, this man knew special effects.
Uh-huh.
What he did in that movie was horrifying. It was, like 20 minutes into the movie, they killed the Razak characters.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
There's 4 books in this series. The Razak are literally alive at the end of the 4th book.
Oh yeah.
Like, how are you going to kill the 3rd most major character in the series 20 minutes into it?
They did the same thing with and so I had the reverse happen. So it was the True Blood TV series.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
I remember I was watching True Blood, and my friend who had read the books first. She's like, "Oh, read the books." I was like, "Okay," and then I started reading the books, and I was like, "Oh crap, the books are better." And now I just consider them as 2 separate entities, like inspired by, because they are not in any way, shape, or form the same thing. Like after I think chapter 2 of the Sookie Stackhouse first book,
Hmm.
They are so different. Episode 1 is it splits off. They have the same characters. It's an entirely different reality.
Yeah.
Um, and I love and I like them both for what they individually are. Like, you know what, the
Right.
TV series is mostly like, let's see how many hot people we can get in it in.
Right.
And I may get my head chewed off, but it is what it is. And
Yeah,
then this book
that's true.
series very much goes into the in-depth world of the supernatural. All of them, not just the
Yeah.
vampires. You get in the supernatural world of the shifters, the
Yeah.
werewolves, the fae, all of it. And Suki is smack dab in the middle of it, and it
Yeah.
is so good, so like I was reading this book. This is gonna be an ADD off tangent. Recently, I just finished it because it exemplifies the difference between the beauty of the world and then just fan service that the True Blood series was. And this book, the first 2 books, fantastic, built this wonderful, amazing world. It's the books, the Court of Roses and Thorns and Roses.
Okay.
It's basically fairy meets. The first 2 books are fantastic.
Hmm.
There's like a smattering of sexual moments, but it's just like, here's 1, 2, beautiful, perfect. That's all you need. And
Are those by Holly Black by chance?
I forget. No, let me see. Court of Thorns. No, it's Sarah Mass.
Oh,
Sarah
okay.
Maas.
Because
And
Holly Black has a series that kind of similar, like has a little bit of the same ideas, I guess.
yeah,
So
yeah, and it was very good. But then, like the final book, I was just like, God, can y'all stop fucking? Like, and it was just like superfluous. And I by no means am a prude, but there
right.
was like it was to the point like 1 or 2 beautiful. But then when it's like every like I was listening to an audiobook, but every like 45 minutes or 30 minutes, it's a sex scene. I would just roll my eyes. I'm like, you're taking away from the world building. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you could tell she probably read the reviews of her first 2 books and was like, let's go balls to the wall with this. And so that's like that last book was the combination of Silk and Stack. It's kind of reminded me of like True Blood in book form. Like it's
Yeah.
all just review service
Yeah.
and took away from the world building. So
I've never read the book series. I have seen the TV series. I love Lafayette as a character. He just, it just one of the great characters, and I think the guy who played the character made it probably even better than what it would have just been written of. Sometimes a special actor comes along and they take the role and they make it even better just with how they can portray it.
yeah, no, 100%.
And I think he was really one of them people who I think he would have got a totally different interpretation of that from somebody different.
100%. I fully agree with you.
So Holly Black is a great character or writer. She does a lot. Kelly Armstrong she has a book series called Women of the Other World, and this is a huge series. It's like 14 books, and it's centered on Ilana, who is the only female werewolf. And then she has her clan around her, but in her interactions all through these books, there's the witches, the covens, there's the vampires, there's the demons, there's the seancers, and there's all these different mystical characters that are all controlled by the magical cabals. And they go on all of these adventures, and they're really in depth. And they tried to make it a TV series in Canada, and it was okay. It wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
They jumped around way too much. It was kind of discombobulated because it didn't make sense. Like, I guess it's because I read the book and I knew where those particular scenes were. And I'm like, wait, they just took a scene from book 1 and then followed it with a book from scene 3 and then went back to a scene from book 1. So you're mixing them together in the same timeline when it's an extended timeline. And It wasn't horrible, but it was one of them things that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it wasn't giving you what you knew it
But
needed.
um, Kelly is such a great writer because she writes with this sort of authority that her characters are so well defined. The main werewolf, the enforcer, Ilana's boyfriend, his name is Clay, and he's kind of Thor meets Indiana Jones.
Okay.
And Kelly describes him as painfully beautiful, so beautiful that he's difficult to look at times, but he has all of the charm and cunning of a pit viper. So you get this picture in your head immediately of this Chris Hemsworth type of guy who is big and brawn and whatnot, but he's just a nasty individual. Like he's a werewolf. He's an enforcer werewolf, and there's a reason he's the enforcer because he's the biggest badass of the bunch. And in the books, he really is. Like he's just utterly ruthless.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's a brilliant archaeologist who's, cunningly smart in all of this. So the way she writes her characters is so engaging that I started with the third book because I didn't realize there were earlier ones. And I picked it up off the shelf, and it was called Industrial Magic.
Ooh,
and I was like, that's such a cool title, Industrial Magic, right?
Yeah.
So I read the book, and I was like, oh, great. And then I noticed there were earlier ones, and I read those. And I just blew through the series in as fast as she could write the books. And I'm like, man, these are so good. Like the characters just are so, you can't help, like even the bad guys, you kind of can't help but like them because in their own way, they're just this, they're almost like WWE characters in the sense that sometimes even when you're supposed to hate them, you kind of end up liking them because they're whatever. But yeah, that's another one I think you would really love. That Kelly is a great writer, and she's a huge supporter of the LGBTQ community and whatnot, and she does a lot of stuff for that. So
I need to check it out. See, my favorite book series has been, and I've reread it backwards and forwards 20 times. It's the Honor Harrington series by David Weber, and it's an obscure sci-fi series.
Okay.
Hard sci-fi. It's not, oh, this works because science. No, the first book is a hard read, but I found it thinking, oh, this book series was made in the 80s, started in the 80s.
Okay.
It by no doubt is done by now. I was very wrong. I was very wrong. It's like 16 books.
16 books. Yeah, he's like David Eddings, where he just David Eddings is one that just his series are like the Cimmerian, I think is what it's called or something. The sort of Cimmerian. It's like 35 books now, and it's just like,
oh my god,
dude, like how the hell are you still alive? You're like, I don't even know how old the guy is, but I mean, he's got 35 books in the series. That's at least got to be at least 40, 50 years worth of books because you can't just write them overnight like that, and they're huge books. That's the thing. Like every one of these books are 400 or 500 pages long.
Yeah.
So it's like
same thing with David Weber. Like his first books were were smaller little affairs, but then I noticed, and I look at them on my shelves, they progressively get bigger and bigger and bigger as the series went on. So it's like, oh yeah, there's only like 16 books in the main Honor Harrington arc. However, they get significantly chunkier as the series continues. And it's a great book series. I love it because it follows the macro and micro, follows the main character, Honor Harrington, as in, I think it's like 2,000 years in the future. Mankind, Earth still exists, but mankind has created colonies and kingdoms all across the galaxy. And it follows the main character, Honor Harrington, and she has a very strong code of loyalty and a sense of honor of self. And it is just so. The first book is a pain in the ass to get through. I'm not going to lie. The first, like 3 or 4 chapters, he's setting up the science of the world, how the propulsion works, how everything works. But then it kicks off into like this interpersonal but social commentary, because there are different, like, her kingdom's a kingdom, the Star Kingdom of Manticore, but they're the main antagonist is the People's Republic of Haven, and then there's all these other different political systems within that exist, and then they go to war, and it's fantastic, and you
Nice.
follow the micro inside the individual countries, how they interact with each other, the battles, her interrelationships within, as she starts climbing the social ladder of her own king. Anyway,
Right.
beautiful. And I have been obsessed with it. And like, I think about, what was it, like 6 years ago? I was like, okay, and this, no, it was longer than that, like 10, oh God, 9 years ago. I was like, okay, I'm on this book. Where's the next one? And then I looked online, and it was like, he's still writing it.
Yeah. George R. Martin,
Yeah.
we might get the next chapter sometime in the next 30 years.
The last several books I've been having to wait for, because the guy's old. The guy's like 90. So I was like, don't. And he
Oh,
does.
no.
I looked at pictures of him. Bless my heart for saying this, but he does not look in great health. And so I was like, don't you dare die before you finish this book. And he released the final book of the main story arc, like, I think 2 years ago. And I was like, oh my God. My friend got me the final edit, because she's a library assistant. She goes to these concerts. Look, it's the last book of your series. I was like,
what a great job.
I don't care if it hasn't been edited. But yeah, no, I love reading, and I've read that whole book series backwards and forwards too many times to count.
So let's talk music a little bit. Who's some music that you love? Like, what? Just a few artists that kind of impress you or inspire you, or that you think people need to know about that are important.
God, my musical tastes are all over the board, like 1,000,000%. My mama is a boomer. She was born in 1951. I'm 34. But my music is all over the place. I
got you there.
I'm going to be very cliche, and Cher tends to I don't listen to her every day by any means. However, she's gotten me emotionally through some shit when you actually listen to the lyrics.
Mhm.
It's really just, oh my goodness. Because I think my biggest breakup, I was sitting in my truck. I drove a big old truck, and I was going through it. This was about, God, 13 years ago now, 2009. And I was going through it. And then Cher's Strong Enough came on. And I started actually, sometimes you don't listen to music and listen to the lyrics until you listen to the lyrics. And it hit me. I was like, no, I'm strong enough. But Cher has always been one that just kind of, she doesn't get, if you think about her, she has been famous for 50 years, 5 decades or longer. And then there's like the others, like Florence and the Machine. But then if I just want to vibe, there's currently, I don't know what genre of music this is called, but it's an artist or a band. They don't have any music videos up, but it's Caravan Palace.
Okay.
I've really been drawn to that because it's more like I'm in the mood for a vibe, just to enjoy, if that makes, and just to be.
No, it makes total sense. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of my stuff that I post, but I am a metalhead by
and I love
metal. But I am also a massive fan of Darren Hayes and Savage Garden, of Air Supply. I love Dan Fogelberg. I love singer-songwriter music. Like Steve Earle and Chris Knight. I love Red Dirt music. One of my current favorites is this guy right here.
Youngblood.
When Youngblood come out, here's this young kid, wild hair. He's got the punk snarl, and I didn't want to like him.
Yeah.
And you could not like the kid. He just, if Elton John and Joe Strummer had a love child, it's Youngblood, and he's got like all of the, I guess, political side of Elton John as far
Yeah.
as love for people and being who you are without boundaries and all of that. But he's got that sort of Clash, Sex Pistols type of punky edge, and he mixes that punky style with this sort of pop element, and he's just fearless.
Yeah.
And the fact that, he comes out and he defends people, he's taken his money and he's set up shelters for LGBT kids that are thrown out by their parents and things like that. And, he's just an absolute fearless. He's like 24, 25 years old.
Oh wow.
And, he's just fearless, man. And my stepdaughter, before the divorce, she was so in love with Youngblood, and we surprised her with tickets. That was her first concert. And we went to the show, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe, like, I had not seen a concert like this in a decade, of just as far as pure energy and the way the crowd interacted. He walked out in the middle of the crowd of probably 3,000 people with an acoustic guitar, stood in the middle of the crowd with the crowd surrounding him, and performed a song acoustically. And it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Like, the crowd just parted for him to walk out there, and he stood there and they surrounded him. Nobody tried to mess with him or anything. The love that his fans have for him, I was speechless. I was like, holy shit, like this kid just is literally holding this crowd in the palm of his hand.
Yeah.
And then he comes out back after the thing. He sneaks out, and he's standing on top of a dumpster, and he's signing autographs and all that. My daughter wanted an autograph, but we couldn't get close enough. So I said, give me your coat. She had an Ed Hardy coat. So I took her coat, and I screamed his name, and he turned around, and I launched her coat over the top of people. And he caught it, and he looked down at Isabel, and he goes, and she's like, yeah. And he signs it. He kisses it, leaves his lip marks thing, and then goes like this to her and throws it back to her.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh my God, I thought she was going to faint. And even now, she wears this coat like this coat doesn't leave her sight.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that, it sets you apart.
Yeah.
From the average musician, the reverence that he has for his fans and the way he interacts, and Cher, has built a career of the same thing, that her fan base is so important to her. Bette Midler and Patti LaBelle,
all of them.
Huge Patti LaBelle fan. And I know looking at me,
no,
I know looking at me, you wouldn't think, oh, here's a Patti LaBelle fan.
No, I think anybody who loves music loves all genres of music in their own way, and I think we're seeing a change in music in a way that there are a lot of different. Things are fusing together bit by bit. Because like right now, I'm listening to. I have a whole thing called Lounge, where it's Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, which is Louisiana type of thing. Imelda May, who I found years ago, who's a Louisiana singer, and then watching the evolution of some of these bigger musicians. Mainly, my biggest watching the evolution has been very interesting. Is actually Lady Gaga, because I remember when she first came out and it was new. Nobody had seen the look she had done, and then seeing her kind of refine into have this loud, because she's not auto-tuned. She does have this talent just classically. And yes, she has had that privilege, but she also cares so much about her fans. A lot of these, at the moment I see somebody who doesn't care about their fans, this is going to be sacrilege to some of my older gays. I'm no longer a fan of Madonna. And it's not because it's mainly how, because Lady Gaga did a whole interview a few years back where she said, I created this song and Madonna was the inspiration 100%, which makes sense because Madonna broke boundaries for a whole genre of music and did all these things. And then Madonna in an interview people was like, how do you feel about this new Lady Gaga who said that you inspired this song? And Madonna's reaction was, oh, I think it was very reductive. And I'm like, see, no, that is not, that's not right. she is obviously playing homage to you, and you like, yes, you've done great things, but don't
Yeah.
be a cunt. And you know,
Yeah.
and that you can know that Gaga was a fan of you, and anybody who eventually becomes somebody, I guess, was a fan of somebody else
Hmm.
who was who inspired them to go these
Yeah.
great gigs. And then there were so many artists. I think one of my other favorites is Postmodern Jukebox. Uh, I love taking modern songs and putting them back to
Yes.
these old timey beats. I actually watched them before they blew up years ago in a small venue in Houston years ago, and and then I got to watch them after they grew, and it was a bittersweet day because I actually it was 2006, and it was a certain day in 2006. No, not two. No, not 2006. Sorry, 2016. 2016. I'm getting my decades confused. And I would gone to see Postmodern Jukebox and then left, and it was a certain day that I went to the bar to see certain election results. Anyway, no more politics. But yeah, my musical taste is all over the board. I'll listen to
I love
rock
that.
if I'm working out, or even if I'm walking or jogging. I'll listen to it here. I'll listen to country. Uh, Dolly Parton, who's an icon and should be
Yes.
protected at all costs.
I have long, long preached the gospel that we need Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire to run together.
They
Because,
have a song together.
but I'm saying, like, Dolly and Reba
Oh,
together,
Office.
like they need just to run. I don't care who's president, who's vice president, but them two women together
Oh
would be
God,
a
yeah.
political force that would be absolutely fearless.
Like you can't hate either of them. I think there's some like hardcore, like super duper conservatives that don't like Dolly because her chest. But
Right.
at that point, it's like it's a chest. How can you be mad at Brett? I mean, something that's naturally on a person. Like I don't get it. I never understood that type of Puritan behavior.
I
But
think I think Dolly though, and Reba too. I think even the harshest critics, they would disarm them though with their, like, Dolly is fearless and Reba's
oh
fearless, and
yeah,
they both have the ability to, you say something to them, they'll come back at you. Like
oh
they're not
yeah,
going to stand there and take it. Like,
oh yeah.
so you can be snide to Dolly or to Reba if you want, but you're gonna have to answer for it because they're
Oh,
not just gonna let it go. Like, look,
no, not at
okay,
all.
you
And
want to
they
be
are.
smart,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
um, and again, like, there's so many, there's so many ways they go across the board of, they got their fame going for them, and they're smart, and they're ambitious, and they're fearless, and they're women. They're automatically gonna just have that kind of going for them, and they're women that don't have negative backgrounds. Like, they're not
Yeah.
known for scandals. They're not known for being nasty or being all of these crazy things that politicians will try to pull out of the dirt to bring you down.
Hmm.
It's going to be really hard to do that with Reba and Dolly. And again, they're just, make jokes. The Rock talks about running for president.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and say he would win, but I would pay the price of admission just to watch the debates.
Oh yeah.
Because
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, debating The Rock, oh, that's got to be a nightmare. Like, can you imagine standing on the stage knowing The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and it's going to take one eyebrow. It doesn't matter, one time like that.
Oh,
And his opponents are just going to be like,
and
they're done.
I think the reason why a lot of people are wanting more celebrities to be because you get more of a peek into their lives.
Yeah.
And you can see them, and then you know who not to mess with,
Yeah.
who's genuine. And
Yeah.
a lot of times politicians nowadays are very, very, very curated. They've
Yeah.
been doing this their whole life. But no, Dwayne, like I would, there are many reasons why I'd probably wet myself if Dwayne the Rock Johnson made that eyebrow look at me, but that's neither here nor there.
No, it's fine. Like it's like it's one of them things where honestly, like you said, there are those celebrities that I would absolutely never want to see run for office, and there are those ones that I think would. You can tell they care, and you can tell they're smart and they're dedicated. That if they took on the role, they would take it seriously. And The Rock is one of them people. I don't think he would do it as a joke. I don't think he would do it just for shits and giggles, so to speak. I think he would take it very seriously, and he's, it's well known. The Rock works from 3 a.m. until 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and takes everything he does seriously and is highly successful with everything. So why would that be any different for him? Because I think there's a handful of others that I think Denzel Washington would make an amazing politician, maybe not president, but something along that role. I think Morgan Freeman, I think would be amazing. There's
the speeches alone.
I've long said I think Queen Latifah would make an amazing governor of a state, because again, fearless, and how can you not love Latifah? Like she just,
I know. Which
everything
is so
about
interesting
her.
Thinking about remembering Queen Latifah way back in the day.
Yeah.
Being a hardcore rapper. I think people forget that. I'm like, remember her rap career? I mean, she was a very successful rapper, but do y'all not remember?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she had her own label.
Oh, yeah.
She had Flavor Unit. She had like Living Single. She had, I mean, there was just so much to it. So, I mean, she's a boss, man. Like, you see like Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion and all of them, they're out there and, they use all of these terms. But when it comes down to it, the real boss, that's Latifah. There's no debating. Like, other than maybe MC Light, there's not another female who is remotely close to what
100%. Though I will make commentary on the recent like rap divas right now.
Yeah.
The one that really always surprises me is Cardi B. Because people say what you want about it. It's the way she engages her audience when it comes to like political stuff.
Yeah.
Because there is a niche that's missed, when it comes to like, you can see even in the Democrat side, they always forget to talk to Latinos in a way that Latinos understand.
Yes.
And she has used herness to like, hey, this is exactly what this means in the way that her community, the vernacular her community talks. Like the way Latinos speak is a whole different way than politicians speak. And so I was like, you know what? That surprised me because, like, I don't believe Megan Thee Stallion got into speaking on politics, nor did Nicki. But Cardi B is like, no, this is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Let's break it down this way. And it showed her intelligence. Now you can say what you want. She is no Queen Latifah. But I was surprised to see her being like breaking this down.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people will shy away from that type of conversation.
Yeah.
But she leveraged that to like, hey, this is what this means, y'all. This is what it means. I was like, you know what? A lot of respect to you. Yeah. And a lot of things are changing. It's a wild, exciting, sometimes scary world right now.
Yeah. It's, on the Latino side, not being Latino, being the Midwestern white guy, George Lopez is somebody who I still watch his stuff religiously, and I think he would make an amazing politician, because he's funny, and I think he's another one that has that ability to, just with his facial expressions and his body demeanor, Cheech Marin, to me, is an absolute national treasure. And Cheech is kind of my Betty White. Like, put this man in bubble wrap and protect him at all costs because
I think he's in his 80s.
Yeah, I think he's like 79 or something. But just everything that man has ever done, he's still fall down funny, and he's political without being obnoxious. He speaks in such a common sense way that even my most conservative friends love Cheech and Chong. Like, how are you going to disagree with Cheech?
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Like, you just can't. Like, he's, even when you want to debate him politically, that joke or that look or that whatever is going to break you down, and you're going to lose your train of thought, and then you're just going to look dumb, and you're better off just being like, okay, you know what? we're just going to agree to
You
disagree.
win. You win.
Right. So I have just a couple quick questions.
Uh-huh.
Music God's random questions of insanity. We always got to run through these real quick. So, first one out of the gate. Back in high school, what was the strangest thing someone could find in your locker?
Oh my God. This is gonna be weird. But it was the Star of David patch
Okay.
because we did one act play here in Texas, a big thing. It's competition, and it was a Star of David patch that it sat in my locker for so long because I forgot about it because we bought new ones, and
Mhm.
so because there was the regular books, but there was just this random Star of David patch with like a little bit of fake blood on it. But it sat there for so long because we bought and made new ones, and I promptly forgot it, and I didn't really use my locker that much because I kept everything in my backpack. But that
Oh,
Star of
man.
David sat there for I think like 9 months. And I went back to grab some random thing because again I kept everything in my backpack. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
This has been here for 9 months. A little Star of David with blood on it.
And that was me. Like, I went to 14 different schools. I was in foster care during my high school years, and 14 different schools in 3 years. And they always gave me a locker. I never used it because everything was in my backpack. And
Yeah.
it just was one of them things like, look, I'm not going to be here that long anyways. So I'm not going to get used to even. So half the time, I couldn't even tell you where my locker was in the school because they would here's your locker number and locker combination. Okay, cool. And I'd throw it away. And I never even went to the locker. Like, I just carried everything around in my
Really?
backpack. So it was like, okay. And somebody, they would ask me, where's your locker? I don't know. And how do you not know where your locker is? I don't use it. And then I had
Yeah.
one kid who's like, well, I'll pay you to use your locker. No, because then if you screw something up, and then I'm, stuck paying for it. But
Yeah.
funniest thing that has happened to you recently?
Oh God. You see, when I'm asked, I don't remember them, but when I don't, actually, this is not caught on camera, but it was actually right before I got on here. Uh, literally an hour and a half ago, I was making a transition video for TikTok. And it's the slide transition. Like one, you're dressed. I'd gotten off the gym. I was like, let me do this right now. And it's like you slide and then you stop and then you do another slide and you're in a whole new outfit. Well, the new outfit is a skirt. And I am 5'4", and so most of the skirts have to wear like coming up, right, coming
Mhm.
close to my on my rib cage because they're meant to have a heel of some kind. So I'm in
Mhm.
socks in this skirt, and my poor cat, she is chill as all get out until something happens. And so I'm getting ready to do the second transition where you run. And so I have to build momentum to come into a slide for the second half of that transition video. And I'm running and I go to stop myself to do the slide because I'm in socks. Well, as I stop, I don't know how I did it, but my foot catches the side of the skirt, which and I'm trying to twist my body, which pulls the skirt, and I just flip mid slide, and I slide this way, and then hit and lit the floor. My cat here's the thud because I'm on the second floor, so everything echoes, and she begins to bolt and just runs. And as she runs over me, over my midsection. It's like a comedy of errors because she was over here, I land here. She runs over my midsection onto my groin. I hit the camera, it goes toppling down. And I just screamed, God damn it. And so that was caught on camera. I was like, I have to reset up everything, reshoot the first one. And that took 3 takes. I managed to not eat it twice. I almost did twice. And then the third, at that point, fourth shot was the one I posted. But thank God I did not keep it. I probably should have kept it. They could have seen the gay auntie eat it on TikTok. But I try not to have that type of content where I eat it because everything is flawless and perfected. It's all one shot every time.
Right. Um, you can only eat one food for the rest of your life. What food is it?
General Tso's chicken.
Okay.
Or Chinese in general. If I'm allowed a genre, Chinese in general. If I'm allowed one particular food item, General Tso's chicken.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm sorry. I got to go with lasagna because I just love lasagna and I would eat it continuously. It's probably why I'm fat because I love pasta and people say you shouldn't eat so much pasta, but it's so good.
Pasta
Like
is delicious. It is God's way of just saying, here you go.
Yeah.
You deserve this.
Yeah. Like I got a friend who he's gluten intolerant. He can't have pasta. And I'm just like, you just have to shoot me. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, if I had to go through life knowing that I could never eat pasta, just kill me. Like I don't know if I'm gonna live without not being able to.
Are there no gluten-free pastas now?
I don't know, but I'm not sure.
Milk from oat, dang it! Like
I don't know if you know who John Panette is. He's a comedian. He's kind of a Gabriel Iglesias type. He's made jokes about it, and he found out but he was gluten intolerant, and he makes a joke in his stand-up about. He's like, the doctor told me I was gluten intolerant. He's like, well, I didn't know what gluten was, and I looked it up. He's like, you know what has gluten in it? Everything. And I told the doctor, I was like, could you check again? Maybe it's just cancer. I'll go run through these real quick. Work for Apple and know all of their trade secrets, or work for Google and know all of their trade secrets?
Google, because Google basically runs everything and has a bigger market share of everything. I mean, Apple, I mean, I have an iPhone now. I'm enjoying it. However, look how much Google owns. All the content, all the storage, everything. I want to know Google's trade secrets. I want to know my computer overlord's trade secrets because I'm not gonna lie, they are my overlord, and I'm not that mad at it. I don't.
And the last one of these random questions I'm going to ask you. This is a section called "Who Wins in a Fight." This is a knockdown, drag out, anything goes fight, fist fight. Who wins in a fight between Urkel and Screech?
Oh God. Urkel hands down, because you remember those transitions where he would transition to his attractive self, but it was literally just him without the glasses and the dorky clothing, like Urkel, and he was like jacked.
I've almost every single person who's ever answered this question has said Urkel, and it's always the reasoning is his legs. He's got those long legs that he can wrap around you and just pin you like
a spider monkey.
Yep. That's exactly it. It get you like a spider monkey and just choke you out with those long arms and legs. And Screech was kind of big and gawky, and he didn't move very well. So and Urkel was the opposite. Urkel was very quick at the feet. With that said, tell everyone where they find you on TikTok, where they find you on Instagram, all of the places. Where do they find your content and all of the amazing, wonderful stuff that you do, so that they can share?
Yeah,
and your Patreon, all of that.
Thank you. I'm Shining Nathan, one word, on TikTok. I'm Shining _ Nathan on Instagram. If you want to support me on Patreon, which is my primary form of income now, is Shine and Nathan, patreon.com/Shine and Nathan. I have a podcast where I do read, searchable under Shine and Nathan, Storytime with Shine and Nathan, and then YouTube as well, where I read as well, and you can watch me read, just different formats of it. Just you can do a Google search, and more than likely it's going to find. I do Google searches in my own name because I'm looking out for fans.
It's important too.
But if you do a quick Google search, you'll find me on YouTube, on the Spotify, on the Apple Podcast, Patreon, and then TikTok. And then I'm the only one that's different is Shining_Nathan on Instagram, because somebody had evidently taken Shining Nathan before me, which made me a little bitter, but that's neither here nor there.
Sue him. No.
Copyright, libel. No.
Thank you so much for coming on here and for all that you do, for your kindness, for your love and positivity that you put out into the world. Because know that going out into the world, I watched your video when you came back, about when you talked about being in San Francisco and feeling like you were home, and as the straight white Midwestern guy, it broke my heart, because hatred is such a I don't understand it. I just, my brain doesn't wrap around how you can hate someone over something so trivial.
Yeah.
Even political ideology.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, very simply with me. I have friends over here. I have friends over here. And I look at it very simply. Do we disagree politically? Probably. But we like the same music. We love the same movies. We both like going out to eat. We love skiing. We love reading. And why would I miss out on all of that amazing stuff we have in common simply because I don't agree with who you like as president? Like, that's the dumbest thing to me, and I'm not going to lose out on all of the amazing opportunities simply because I might not agree with your opinion about abortion, or I may not agree with your opinion about how the border should be handled, or I might not agree with you on gun control or something like that. Okay, we can disagree on that, because I don't have to talk about that at dinner. I don't have to come to your house and talk about that. I can come to your house and we can have a barbecue and we can listen to music and we can watch movies and we can swim and we can do all of the things we love and have in common. And you know what I'm saying? Why would I miss out on all of that fun? Because I don't agree with one thing, and it's just, when I seen that video, it broke my heart that anyone would have to feel that way or ever would feel that way because of someone's stupidity or someone's hatred or someone's whatever. And I want you, if nothing else, to go away from this knowing that I am always here if you need an ear to listen or you just need to vent, because your videos have given me so much joy and so much pleasure that again, I am totally honored to have you on here. So
thank you. I was very glad, and thank you for everything you've said, and thank you for this opportunity. I really did thoroughly enjoy it, and this was wonderful. I loved it.
So we're going to wrap this up. This is a Noize Report. I'm the Music God. This is Shining Nathan. Check him out everywhere. And with that said, we're out of here.